what kind of match it was. But would you end up rating this one?
I gave it an 8.
See, and I give it a 10. I actually really liked this.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that's the. Is that the only one I give it? Yeah, that's the only one I give it 10. The rest of the night. I don't know if we should even rate this match. The Iron Sheik won the gimmick battle royal.
Ironic you say, because I didn't even rate it.
Yeah, I don't know if we would even rate that, but it basically was a bunch of people that had outlandish gimmicks, like nostalgia stuff. They had Mean Gene and Heenan on commentary. There was a note.
Honestly, I didn't even title it Gimmick Battle Royal. I technically titled it Gimmick/Legends Battle Royal. That's what it was. It wasn't so much a gimmick. It was a Legends Battle Royal because they're Legends, but you can say because they have a lot of gimmicks. But that's what wrestling is gimmicks. But
that's what they called it on the show. They called it the Gimmick Battle
Royal. I know, but I didn't really like that. I didn't like that name. So I said Gimmick Battle Royal on my phone, Gimmick/Legends. But I'm like, I wouldn't want to call these legends out there that went out there and did so much for so long and just say it's a Gimmick Battle Royal. I personally wouldn't have titled that, but that's what they did.
One thing I did want to point out, because I couldn't believe that I heard this from Mean Gene. Bobby Heenan asked Mean Gene if he was happy, and he goes, "Yes, I'm happy." And then he goes, "Wrap this cord around my neck a few times, and I'd be happier." It's like, well, you okay there, Mean Gene? What's going on with you, buddy?
Wow, I didn't catch that. I guess
I did, because I rewound it. I'm like, he didn't say that, and he absolutely did. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
It was not. That's not expected at all. But this was not exactly the battle royal. I remember back then, I was like, could have done something a little more.
This was WWF giving everyone a pee break.
Kind of, yeah. Honestly, it's a pee break or beer break or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's intermission. But it's still. I mean, I still would enjoy it. But Iron Sheik won it. Wasn't thrilled about that one. But hey, that's what it is. But yeah, it was there. Nothing unless you got something else to say about it.
I don't. The next one is Undertaker versus Triple H, and I don't know why I couldn't remember he was American Badass, because I actually remember this match.
Wow.
What was the wow for?
Don't remember that.
I didn't. Well, here's the thing. I remember the match, but when you and I were talking, I'm like, he was definitely the American Badass for this match, because I remember this match because he went for the last ride 4 times.
Yeah.
But this was like a brawl, and Undertaker even had a little bit of heelish actions, which I wasn't expecting. Because if I remember correctly, Undertaker was the face during this time, and Triple H was the heel.
Yeah, I think what it was, like I said, it's mania and it's frustration and it's just, intensity. So I think it's kind of, it's heel move, but he had done hitting the referee. But I think it's just more or less the intensity with mania and just the emotions, honestly. I ain't the person I've ever seen a face do something like that, honestly.
Yeah. He even called out Old School before he went for it, too. There was that, too.
I wasn't expecting. Old School before he went for it?
Yeah, so, he does a twist to Triple H and then backs up to the turnbuckle. Then he calls out Old School and then starts walking on the rope.
He's done that when he was the American Badass. So
no. What I mean is he yelled it out.
I know.
Arm wrench, but I don't remember him doing that any other time.
He did a lot of times when he was with the American Badass. He always hollered out Old School. Always did that. And so when he was before he went to the when he was a dead man before that, he didn't holler it out. But when he went to be the Badass, he always hollered out Old School.
I would also like to point out that you said before when he was a dead man, which sounds really, really funny.
Oh yeah, I
know. But he went for the last ride, got hit with the sledgehammer one time, but ultimately he was able to beat Triple H with the last ride. I
remember that when he chokeslammed off that platform, I know my buddies and we were watching, I was like, holy crap, where'd he go? We're like, did he chokeslam on concrete? Or what? Finally had to put the camera on, we're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. Well, that's what, and they're like, oh, you went straight down the concrete. And I'm like, there's no way he went down the concrete because Triple H would have a concussion. No.
Hey, It can happen. This happened before. Anyways, I know what you're saying though. But it was just like our moment, like holy crap, where'd he go? It was like, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw like, oh, you can see it's like cushion now. Anyways,
so here's the irony. Also, this match, when this happened, when this pay-per-view happened, is when I was using Triple H a lot in wrestling games, and the only person that the other person would be if I was Triple H was Undertaker. So I always thought that gave me like a flashback of nostalgia. When I would play as Triple H against people that would be over at the house using the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you end up rating this?
Yeah, it was funny. You asked that. I watched this pay-per-view all night long, whatever day it was, and it was probably about good 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock. I was so tired. I guess I forgot. I probably went to do a pee break after this one. I didn't even rate it, so I'm gonna say, I'm gonna give it like a 8.7.
I gave it an 8. Yeah.
8. That's cool.
The only thing I didn't really like is when Triple H hit him with a sledgehammer, he dropped the sledgehammer immediately, and it's just like, okay, and like you see Triple H trying to catch it when he dropped it after he hit him with it. Like, okay, that was kind of a mess up, but all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. That was a great match. Totally great story all the way around. Now when Triple H was starting to come up even better as a more of a main eventer. He was already a main eventer, but it showed a lot more from him. When he was coming up that year, even a little bit that year, late 2000s, you could just see more and more out of him. That's what I'm saying. It's just he climbed up so well.
Yeah. The next one was Stone Cold versus The Rock.
Man, for y'all that watch this pay-per-view, obviously, you're gonna watch the main event. This is why it's the main event. This is why you go to WrestleMania. This is why. This is it, man. And, I'm not a fan of face versus face usually, but man, this is the kind of match where it was just not about. It was about the title, but it wasn't just. There's a history behind there, and for y'all that are young bucks out there that are don't totally understand. Also, huh?
Matt and Nick. The Young Bucks are Matt and Nick. It was a joke.
Okay. For y'all youngins out there, my bad. No pun intended, Young Bucks. For y'all youngins out there, don't truly understand the Rock and Austin, man. It was this match brought in so much from the history. That's why it's so important from there. Austin had to have a title. Rock, he want to keep that title. It is a different personal volume towards it that you never see these days. Really, you never do. Not to that extent. Man, this match, man, we were up on our feet. I think most of the match, honestly, when I watched this.
Yeah, and even though you're not a fan of face to face, one of the things I also wanted to point out is right before the match started, they said that the stipulation was changed to a no DQ, which plays into what all happened.
Yeah,
during the match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was better that it was a no DQ. Honestly, I mean, besides what happened, yeah, it was like you can't put a limit on this one. It's like you obviously take your Triple H. If it went for the referee being knocked out, it wouldn't have been as good. To an extent, but yeah, man, this is the match and a half. What'd you give it?
I give it a 9.
Well, I was about not even halfway into it. I was at pretty much 10. Not even halfway. I was at a 10. I was going to give it a 10. I could get that was no problem, but I did not give it a 10. I gave it 9.7. Now the reason why I did not give it the other 0.3 points was because I didn't care too much for the heel turn of Austin. However, I can understand different ways on a business standpoint, different reasons I can understand it. I know Austin wasn't a big fan of going heel. He only remember half the time about his heel run. He really don't. He says, people will, for myself and people back then will have comparisons of Hogan's heel turn to this, and it's like it's a different scenario, different ball game. and there's different reasons why. It was one of those things where people were talking about the next day at school, or I guess the next day at work for whoever was at work that day. It was Steve Austin stood for all the blue collars, your regular people all the time. That's what he was there for. He's just a different gimmick than Hogan, obviously. Austin turning heel was a huge moment. It wasn't the absolute best decision, but I also look at it to where, like a TV show that's been going on for so long, where else do you go with these characters? What else do you have for this person? What else do you? I mean, we do fantasy booking all night long, and that's fine, but I think it's just, where do you go with these characters, and who's going to do what, and what can really come about this if Austin didn't turn heel, then it's et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think in some ways it was a good decision, but Pierce said, doesn't like it, so that's why he gave it a 9.7.
The main thing I didn't really like about it is the fact that he used the chair so aggressively against The Rock, and it's not. It makes sense for a heel turn, I guess, but at the same time, I could see Austin more so just taking it too far with beating up The Rock without using a chair, and I thought that would have been, in my opinion, a better way of storytelling it.
Well,
where he just annihilates The Rock when The Rock can't get up, just beating him up with fists, not using a steel chair. But at the same time, I also respect the fact that this allowed for further character development for Austin, because he also became kind of psycho, and he also became, at one point during his heel turn, more comedy based with his character. And I think it highlights how good of a performer Austin was at that point. Doing the whole fake kiss ass to McMahon, which then Angle joined in on. But you know what I mean? It's rough. Another thing I didn't like also is kind of at one point it looked like they're trying to pay homage to when Austin changed from heel to face against Bret Hart in the sharpshooter, when Austin was applying the sharpshooter to The Rock, because very similar imagery with The Rock bleeding and whatnot. But Austin had such a bad grip on the sharpshooter.
Yeah. I hear you. It was still good. I understand, but it wasn't the best grip. But if I was booking the match, if I'm gonna turn him heel, I don't want him beating The Rock up. Just with his hands. I want to go for the heat, and I don't want to have it to where these days they just have it one chair shot and that's it. No, I want to keep on. It just builds up. Like, what the heck is he doing? What are we watching? What's going on? It's like, this is not what we usually. This is not a face. Austin is not a normal what we would see. It's of course, I know there's a lot of passion between him and The Rock, but it's just not a usual thing. So it's kind of bring on more heat. And if you're going to see 1-2 chair shots, you're not really generating that. That's that type of heat, that type of what the heck is going on. And yeah, McMahon adds on the biggest fire of them all. He's in the ring assisting him. That obviously makes it what it is. So it's just beating The Rock just by hands is, it's just more or less you're outdoing him, and it don't look good if you're going to outdo The Rock like that just all of a sudden. So but that's, what you feel about it. But that's just how I would book it. But I would give it a 10, but I had to go for the 9.7.
Yeah, no, and to kind of address the reason I did higher for the tag team match is just given what this brought ladder matches to another level. Yes, the McMahon Austin was very much a big deal, but at the same time, unlike the McMahon Austin, you see what these three teams have done be played out constantly on TV now. In a sense where, like, people are trying to duplicate and do a TLC too, or do a TLC match, kind of like they did back in the day. And that's where I felt they're both important. They're both very, very important, but I do think there's more gravity to TLC too.
Like, I didn't like about the TLC matches, I didn't want to see Edge and Christian win again. That was my only. Yeah. That was my only part where, like, obviously I knew that they won now. I mean, back then it was like, really? All that, and then you're going to give me them as tag champions, they won it again. That's how I felt about it back then. I wasn't a big fan of Edge and Christian at that time anyways, but
And to be honest, I think the next time that Rock and Austin faced at WrestleMania was way more important than this one.